So last summer, I needed to take my rent to the rental management office, and I decided that since it's not terribly far away, I could run there, right? Get my exercise in at the same time as paying my rent. Like, this is going to be a very productive trip. Well, I head out and I see a Sonic on the way, and I'm like, I could walk and drink a slushie at the same time, and I'd still be getting my rent paid. Let's do it. So I stop and I get a frozen mango lemonade, bomb.com. And slushy in hand, I continue on, and then I remember that I have to pay a fee for a trip that I'm going on with church. So I stop by the bank, I draw out money for that, and because church is on the way home, I'm like, hey, I could stop and get this fee paid all at the same time, right? I'm killing so many birds with the same stone. I pay the rent, and I've just started heading back home when all of a sudden, out of absolutely nowhere, this rainstorm hits. And I had checked the weather forecast earlier in the day, but hadn't really seen anything, so I thought I was safe, totally good to go. Clearly, I should have checked the weather radar right before going on this trip because I am 2.5 miles away from home and totally hosed at this point. Now, I realize I'm gonna get sopping wet no matter what, so I decide, I'm gonna run home. I've got my slushie in one hand, I've got my phone and my mission trip money in the other, but I'm still gonna swing by the church because it's on the way. As I'm on the side of the road sloshing my way through puddles, one of my students and her mom pull off to the side of the road to ask if I want to ride. Which, I mean, it's real sweet, but let's be real. I'm not getting any wetter at this point, and their vehicle is currently dry, so, let's keep it that way. So I say thanks, but no, and I keep going. I get to the church, and I am standing at the door on their little porch like a sorry drowned puppy because the lobby does not need a living mop, so I'm not going to go in there and get everything all messy. I'm waiting for somebody to come out to the door, and who should walk up but the lead pastor of the entire church as I'm standing there in my sopping wet white tank top. I mean, where else would the lead pastor be? I'm not really sure what I was thinking or why I thought I'd avoid seeing him. I get my fee paid, and after I leave the church, the rain lets up, of course, because it couldn't 15 minutes earlier. So I finish out my run, but I get home and my phone will not turn on. But thank the Lord for rice. A couple days later, it was working and totally functional again. But all of this to say, this Californian learned real quickly that you always check the weather radar before you go on a run. You don't check the forecast that morning, you check the weather radar. Now, why am I telling you all of this? Radar technology is super important to meteorologists in their job of forecasting, and while people typically just refer to it as radar, it's actually called the Doppler radar. Sound like a word we've heard before? Waves don't just travel, they reflect. Not so sure? Try going into a huge empty room and shouting something. What do you hear? Here, here. That echo is sound waves being reflected right back toward the source. Or flip on a light in a dark room, but put your hand between your face and the source of the light so you can't see it. Are you still able to see things in the room? That visibility is light waves being reflected from the source off the objects in the room to your eyes. As you saw on Thursday, waves reflect differently based on whether the source of sound is moving toward the listener or away from the listener. When you went outside to listen to the cars, you all told me that the car moving toward you had a higher pitch than when the car was moving away. Those sound waves were getting compressed as the car moved towards you and stretched out as the car moved away from you because they fill up however much space is between you and the car. That difference in sound that you're hearing is called the Doppler effect. Meteorologists use this concept in order to track storms, especially how intense they are and how they're moving. Your job is to head to the Waves Learning menu and choose either the Read It or Watch It, then answer the 4 questions in Google Classroom.